All right, listen up. Imagine this. What if Daenerys Targaryen, the mother of dragons, the breaker of chains, the so-called Queen of the Seven Kingdoms, actually died in Meereen? Yeah, not later in Westeros, not in King's Landing, but right there in Slaver's Bay. Stick with me, because this changes everything. So let's rewind to around Season 5 of Game of Thrones. You remember what was going on in Meereen, right? Dany's trying to bring peace, she's freeing slaves, but man, it's chaos. The Sons of the Harpy are running wild, masked killers hiding in shadows, attacking Unsullied, causing riots. Meereen is a powder keg. Now picture this. In this alternate reality, that ambush in the fighting pits, where the Sons of the Harpy strike during the big games, actually succeeds. No Drogon coming in to rescue her. No dramatic escape. Instead, the Harpies manage to corner her, and boom, Daenerys is killed on the spot. No resurrection, no twist. She's just gone. And the aftermath? Oh, it's madness. First off, let's talk about the power vacuum. You've got Tyrion, Jorah, Grey, Worm, Missandei, Dario Naharis, even Varys, all suddenly left without their queen. These people believed in her. She wasn't just a ruler, she was their hope. Tyrion had just started advising her. Jorah literally got himself infected with grayscale trying to redeem himself. Grey Worm and Missandei, totally loyal. Dario, obsessed. And Varys, betting everything on her. So, with her dead, what happens? Meereen burns. Not literally with dragonfire, but politically, socially, spiritually. The Sons of the Harpy don't stop. In fact, they get bolder. Their main threat is gone. The Unsullied, demoralized. The freed slaves, terrified. They saw Dany as a savior, someone who gave them dignity. Her death sends a message. Freedom dies too. Now let's zoom in on Tyrion. This is where things get really interesting. Without Daenerys, Tyrion's whole arc takes a different turn. Remember, he believed ruling. With her could redeem all the terrible stuff he'd done, killing Tywin, betraying his family, being the drunken outcast. He saw Dany as a new beginning. But now, in Meereen, he's left holding a kingdom that's crumbling. And maybe for the first time he realizes, you can't fix a broken world with just ideals. You need power, real power, and dragons. Okay, speaking of dragons, what happens to Drogon, Rhaegal, and Viserion? Well, with Dany gone, the dragons become wild cards. Drogon maybe flies off in grief, goes rogue, or worse, starts attacking random cities. Without Dany's bond, they become unstable, unpredictable, and that's terrifying. So who steps up? Some say Tyrion might try to rule in her place. Maybe he and Varys try to hold Meereen together, stop the bleeding. But they're not Targaryens. They're not fireproof. And they're not dragon riders. They're just clever men, trying to survive a storm that's way bigger than them. Meanwhile, back in Westeros, nobody even knows yet that Dany's dead, and that delay creates huge ripple effects. Cersei continues her madness in King's Landing. Jon Snow's still with the Night's Watch dealing with White Walkers. The North doesn't unite under any Targaryen banner because there's no banner to unite under. And that means the fight against the Night King falls apart. Yeah, that's the real consequence here. No dragons to melt the wall. No queen to bring Jon and Dany together. No alliance between fire and ice. So when the Night King marches south, he wins. Simple as that. Because here's the deal. Daenerys was a flawed character, sure. Arrogant, impulsive, even dangerous. But she had the tools to turn the tide. The dragons, the army, the ambition. Without her, humanity is basically doomed. And let's not forget the Iron Throne. With Dany out of the picture, the entire endgame changes. There's no Mad Queen to burn King's Landing. There's no Jon versus Dany conflict. Instead, we get a slower decay. Cersei tightens her grip. The lords keep scheming. The realm falls deeper into chaos, while an icy death marches from the north unchecked. And here's the real twist. Some fans might say that Dany dying in Meereen is better than what actually happened to her. Think about it. She dies a hero, the breaker of chains. She doesn't become the villain. She doesn't burn innocent people. She doesn't go mad. Her story ends in tragedy, but with purpose. But the price of that early death is the end of the world, and that, my friends, is just the beginning. All right, so let's pick it right back up. Daenerys is dead in Meereen. The sons of the Harpy got her. There's blood in the sand. The crowd panics. The Unsullied are scattered. And Drogon? He never showed up. Maybe he was injured, maybe too far away, or maybe the bond between rider and dragon got weakened by all the chaos. Either way, he didn't come. Now, let's talk about what happens immediately after her death. Tyrion is frozen. He's in the stands. Just watched a queen, a possible savior of Westeros, get butchered in front of thousands. He's horrified. Jorah charges in, fighting to get to her, but it's too late. Grey Worm is bleeding out from multiple stab wounds. Missandei, screaming. Daario goes full berserker. And the sons of the Harpy? They vanish. They didn't come to take over. They came to send a message, and they sent it loud and clear. No one rules Meereen but Meereen. What follows is a total breakdown of order. The Unsullied, without Dany's leadership, start falling apart. These guys were trained for loyalty, obedience, but take away their queen, their purpose. Now they're angry, scattered, unpredictable. Some lash out, some desert, some start fighting each other. And guess what? The people of Meereen, the freed slaves, they're watching this whole thing unfold. They were promised protection, promised a future, and now they're seeing their liberators collapse in real time. Hope dies in their eyes. The Harpy didn't just kill Daenerys. They killed the dream she built. Tyrion realizes something fast. If they don't act quickly, the city will tear itself apart. So, what does he do? He calls an emergency meeting with what's left of Dany's inner circle. Grey Worm is barely standing. Missandei's in shock. Daario is demanding revenge. And Tyrion. He's the only one thinking beyond the next 10 minutes. He tells them, if we don't stabilize this city, we're not just losing Meereen. We're losing the entire legacy Daenerys died for. But here's the problem. No one respects him. He's a Lannister, a Westerosi, an outsider. To the people of Meereen, he's just another foreigner trying to play king in a city he doesn't understand. Even the slaves don't trust him. So Tyrion makes a bold move. He tells Varys to start working. The shadows, whisper networks, bribes, secrets, manipulate the politics, keep the other cities in Slaver's Bay from rising up, while Daario and the Second Sons go full military lockdown to control the streets. But let me be real. This isn't governance. This is survival mode. Martial law, brutality, Dany's vision of peace through liberation. It dies with her. What comes next is control through fear, and Tyrion knows it. He hates it. But what choice does he have? Now let's jump across the sea, to Westeros. Word of Dany's death doesn't arrive for weeks, but when it does, it changes everything. In King's Landing, Cersei laughs, straight up. She always saw Dany as a foreign invader, a threat to her throne. Now that threat's gone. No dragons flying over Westeros, no unsullied fleet coming to siege the capital. She celebrates, even toasts to the Harpy, like a queen toasting the death of her rival. Meanwhile, in the north, Jon Snow hears the news, and he's devastated. Not because he knew her well. At this point, they've barely met. but because he saw the war coming, the White Walkers, the Night King. And Dany was supposed to be the fire to meet that ice. Now what? He knows no one else has dragons. No one else has the army or the will to unite the seven kingdoms. So Jon starts feeling that weight again, that crushing feeling, that everything depends on him, and he hates it. He never wanted leadership, never wanted destiny, but destiny doesn't care. Back in Meereen, things get worse. Drogon returns, days later, roaring, furious, and he finds Dany's body. Guys, this scene would have been insane. A grieving dragon, lying next to her corpse, protecting it, not letting anyone come near. Not even Tyrion. Drogon refuses to burn the city. He refuses to fly away. He just mourns. Eventually, he takes her body and disappears into the skies. And that's it. No tomb, no funeral, just ashes in the wind. But here's the wildest part. Her death sparks a new kind of myth. The dead Queen of Meereen becomes a legend. Some say she'll rise again. Some say she was a goddess. Others say the dragons will return with vengeance one day. Her followers? They turn into a cult-like movement, spreading whispers across Essos. People start tattooing her sigil, wearing Targaryen colors, chanting Misa in the streets of other cities. Dany didn't live to take the Iron Throne, but her memory becomes a weapon, and in Westeros that memory is still strong enough to shift alliances. Some nobles who once supported her still do, even more now that she's martyred. And those who feared her? They grow complacent. They think the threat's over, but they don't realize it's just getting started. Because in the shadows, a new fire is building, a darker one, and the person standing at the center of it? Jon Snow. Okay, so Daenerys is gone. Meereen is in chaos. Drogon vanished with her body, and Tyrion is barely holding things together with string and whispers. But now, let's talk about Jon Snow, because this is where the story starts pulling Westeros into the fire. Back in the north, Jon's life is already a mess. The Night's Watch doesn't fully trust him. He's trying to rally people against an enemy they still don't fully believe in, the White Walkers. And on top of all that, he gets the message. Daenerys Targaryen has been killed in Meereen. Now imagine what that does to him. Jon was already carrying this huge weight. He knew the North couldn't win alone. He knew the threat from beyond the wall was real, and Dany was their one shot at uniting the realms with real power. Dragons, armies, and presence. Her death hits like a hammer. But here's the twist. Jon also starts to change. He realizes no one else is coming. No dragon queen, no army from across the sea, no fire to meet the ice. So he does something he's never truly done before. He starts to lead without fear, not reluctantly, not with hesitation. He steps into the spotlight. He starts training troops harder. He sends messages to every kingdom, warning them what's coming. Some laugh, some ignore him, but a few, especially Davos, Sam, and Sansa, they see it. This new version of Jon, the one who's not just fighting to survive, but to lead. Because now, he's not just trying to stop the White Walkers, he's trying to honor Daenerys. See, her death wasn't just a loss to him. It was a lesson. She believed in freeing people, breaking systems, ending cycles. And Jon, he never thought about power like that. But now he starts to. Now let's jump over to the Vale for a second. Littlefinger's been watching all this from the sidelines like he always does. When he hears Daenerys is dead, he knows what it means. One less player on the board. And that opens doors. So he starts scheming again, using Sansa as a political pawn, trying to whisper his way into power. But Sansa's not falling for it anymore. She's learned too much, and when she sees how the realm reacts to Dany's death, The myths spreading across Essos, the rising loyalty even after death, she realizes something important. Symbols matter. Daenerys died, but her story didn't. In fact, her story became even more powerful. So Sansa tells Jon, "You may not have dragons, but you have something even rarer. Belief." And Jon hates that. He doesn't want to be a symbol. He doesn't want people chanting his name. But deep down, he knows. He might be the last hope. Meanwhile, in King's Landing, Cersei is feeling unstoppable. The reports say Dany is dead. No dragons are flying toward the capital. No Unsullied are sailing across the sea. The Golden Company is at her command. Euron's fleet is strong. And guess what? She finally feels safe. But here's where she makes her biggest mistake. She lets her guard down. She starts ruling more aggressively, crushing dissent, raising taxes, executing anyone who talks about the dead Dragon Queen. Because yeah, people in Westeros are talking. They're asking, what if Daenerys was right? What if we needed her? Some even say Cersei had a hand in her death, even though she didn't. But perception, that's poison. Now let's circle back to Meereen one more time. Tyrion is still trying to hold the city together, but the cracks are growing. Dario's methods are too violent. The cult of Daenerys is growing faster than he can control. He starts seeing graffiti on the walls. Fire will return. People leave food and candles near the old pyramid where Dany once ruled. It's not politics anymore. It's religion. And Varys? He's watching all of this quietly, collecting whispers, counting loyalty. And then, one night, he tells Tyrion something chilling. Westeros isn't ready for a king. It needs a dragon. And Tyrion's like, she's gone. But Varys smiles, the kind of smile that only he can pull off, and he says, not all fire has to be born of dragons. Some is born of ice. Boom. That's the moment. Varys starts to believe that Jon Snow, the bastard of the North, the silent watcher on the wall, might be the real heir to Dany's dream. He doesn't just have Stark blood. He has Targaryen blood, though not everyone knows it yet. But Varys, he's digging, connecting the dots, asking the quiet questions. And when he starts whispering Jon's name to the right people, that belief starts to spread. Back in the north, Jon's getting letters, messages from people he's never met. Essosi rebels, old lords, former slaves, saying they believe in him, not because of who he is now, but because of who Daenerys was. She lit the spark. Now he's carrying the torch. And deep in the ruins of Valyria, some say a new dragon has been spotted, not Drogon. A hatchling. They say Drogon's been flying near old Valyria, that he dropped Dany's body in the fires, and that her blood, royal, magical, ancient, awakened something that had been sleeping for centuries. A new age might be starting, not the age of Targaryens, the age of fire reborn, but it's still fragile. Still uncertain. Because, while all this is happening, the Night King, he's marching, and without Daenerys to ride south and unite the world, he's coming with no one strong enough to stop him, unless Jon becomes more than a watcher. Unless he becomes the king Daenerys never got to be, but what would that cost him? All right, buckle up, because this is where everything starts to spiral. Daenerys is dead, her ashes probably mixed into Valyrian stone somewhere. The world's still spinning, but it's different now. Tyrion's trying to hold Meereen with diplomacy. Wrapped in fear, Jon's rising in the north like a storm that doesn't know it's coming. And Westeros. Man, it's sleepwalking straight into doom. Let's zoom into Jon Snow's world again, because he's the centerpiece now. After everything, after hearing about Dany's death, after watching the realm crumble while the Night King keeps advancing, Jon starts to finally accept something he's been running from his entire life. He was born to lead, not for glory, not for fame, not because he wants it, but because no one else can. There's no other choice. Now, Sam? He's been digging through the old scrolls in the Citadel, and boom, he finds it. The truth about Jon's parents, Lyanna Stark and Rhaegar Targaryen. He tells Jon, and Jon flips. He doesn't want to believe it. It's too much. But Varys? Oh, Varys already knows. He's been playing his quiet little Game of Thrones from the background. And the moment he gets confirmation, he starts sending ravens. To Essos, to Dorne, to the Vale, to old allies of House Targaryen, to the Iron Islands, everywhere, and the letters all say one thing. Aegon Targaryen lives. Now Jon's in a mess. Half the North still sees him as their Stark, but others, they hear Targaryen and flinch. They remember the Mad King. They remember dragons burning their cities. So Jon does what he always does. He tells the truth. He stands in front of his bannermen and says, "Yes, I'm a Targaryen, but I was raised a Stark. I'll always fight. For the North." And surprisingly, most of them stay loyal, because here's the thing, people don't just follow a name. They follow a man who stands in the cold while everyone else sits by the fire, and that's who Jon is. But things are heating up fast, because while the North debates banners and bloodlines, the Night King finally breaks through the wall. No dragon stopped him this time. No Dany flying in at the last second. East Watch by the Sea is destroyed. Wildlings are slaughtered. The undead are pouring into the north like a black tide of death. Jon calls the banners. Every house, every ally. He sends ravens to Sansa, to Gendry and Storm's End, even to Tyrion and Meereen. And here's where it gets messy. Tyrion reads that letter, and for a second he just sits there, frozen, because Jon isn't just asking for troops or ships, he's asking for dragons. Only, there are no dragons left, at least not ones anyone can ride. Drogon's still somewhere in Valyria, the others, still chained, still wild, and without Dany, nobody has claimed them. But remember what I hinted at? There's a legend starting to grow in Meereen, the cult of the dead queen, people praying to Dany like she was divine. Some say she'll rise again. Some believe her spirit lives in her dragons. And Tyrion, he starts to think maybe that legend is more than just whispers, because deep down, he remembers what Dany once said to him. They're not just beasts, they're my children. So he makes the most insane decision of his life. He sends a secret mission to Valyria. Not an army, just one man. Bran Stark. Yup, you heard that right. Bran, the three-eyed raven. He's the only one who might be able to reach Drogon through visions, through the Weirwood network, through whatever magic is left in the world. It's a long shot, it's crazy, but it's the last hope. Meanwhile, Jon leads the charge in the north. It's brutal. Villages are razed, cities fall. The undead don't sleep, don't stop, don't negotiate. Jon watches men he trained for, years, die in seconds, and worse, they rise again, on the other side. This isn't just war. This is the apocalypse. But in the middle of all this hell, Jon starts getting visions, dreams. He sees fire, he sees Dany, standing in a field of ash, whispering to him, "You must be more than me." At first, he thinks he's going mad. But Melisandre returns. Yeah, the Red Woman's back, and she tells him something terrifying. You are Azor Ahai, reborn. Now, if you don't remember that prophecy, let me break it down. Azor Ahai is the legendary hero who ends the long night, the one who forges the sword Lightbringer, the sword that saves the world, by plunging it into the heart of someone he loves. Dany is dead, but Jon, he still hasn't made that sacrifice yet. Melisandre tells him, your pain is just beginning. Back in Meereen, things are shifting. Bran, using his powers, finally reaches Drogon. Not fully, but enough to calm the beast. Drogon starts flying again. Not wild, not burning cities. Just watching, like he's waiting. Tyrion gets the message. Drogon is returning. And maybe, just maybe, there's still a chance to bring dragonfire into this war. But here's the darkest part of all this. Even if Jon wins, even if he stops the Night King, what does it cost him? His family is scattered. His lineage is revealed. He's not just a bastard anymore. He's the last living Targaryen, the last flame in a world of cold and death. And people, they're starting to treat him the same way they treated Dany, like a weapon, like a god, like a monster. And Jon? He's starting to look in the mirror and wonder, what if I'm not meant to rule anything? But the world doesn't care what he wants anymore, because winter is here. Okay, now we're getting into the firestorm. Quite literally. We're in the middle of a war for survival. No politics, no thrones, no grand speeches about honor anymore. It's just life or death. North versus night. And Jon Snow. He's at the heart of it all. But here's the thing. Nobody wants to admit. He's starting to break. See, Jon's always been the guy who puts duty above everything, right? He died for the Night's Watch, fought for the wildlings, stood alone at Hardhome. But now, he's not just carrying swords and shields, he's carrying the ghost of Daenerys. He keeps dreaming of her. Not in a romantic way, not in a tragic love story kind of way. It's more like she's watching him. Like her death gave birth to something inside him. A fire he doesn't understand. Now let's talk battles. The army of the dead, they've reached Winterfell. No waiting, no negotiating, it's on. Jon pulls together every living body that can. Hold a weapon, even Gendry, Tormund, Brienne, Arya, Podrick, the Hound. Hell, even freaking Jaime Lannister shows up. No one's worried about titles or oaths anymore. They're trying not to die. The fight? It's ugly. Worse than anything the show gave us. No blue fire spectacle. Just brutal, horrifying death. The dead climb walls like ants. The giant whites smash through gates. Ghost? Yeah, Jon's direwolf. Loses an ear and almost gets torn in half. Brienne is cut down trying to protect Sansa. Gendry is impaled. Arya? She's slicing through whites with dragonglass, blood spraying like it's nothing. But even, she starts getting overwhelmed. And Jon? He's everywhere. Fighting, screaming, losing friends left and right. But then something changes. Out of the darkness, a roar. Drogon returns, and not just flying randomly. This time, he's controlled. Because Bran, he's warging him. Yeah, you heard that right. Bran Stark, emotionless, weird, tree-hugging Bran, is using every ounce of his three-eyed raven power to ride Drogon through his mind. It's not perfect. Drogon twitches, roars like he's in pain, but still, he burns the undead, melts entire waves of them, gives the living just enough breathing room to regroup. Jon sees it, and he knows. This is the last shot. So he goes for the Night King. Now, this ain't a quick stab like in the original timeline. No Arya leaping out of nowhere. This is a full-on duel. Jon versus the Night King in the courtyard of Winterfell, with fire swirling around them, snow falling like ash, and bodies everywhere. They fight hard. Blade versus ice. Jon gets wounded, sliced down his arm. The Night King grabs him by the throat, starts freezing him alive. And that's when Jon's sword lights up. Lightbringer. Yeah, it happens. Not because he forged it. Not because he stabbed anyone he loved. But because in that moment, when he's dying, when he has nothing left, when he finally lets go of everything, the sword catches flame. Not from magic. Not from prophecy. But from choice. Jon swings it and drives it straight through the night. King's chest. Boom. The Night King shatters like glass. Every white collapses. Silence. The war is over. But the real story, that's just beginning. Winterfell is in ruins. Thousands are dead. The North is bleeding. And Jon, the man who saved the world, is now feared more than he's celebrated. People saw what happened. They saw the sword catch fire. They saw the dragon obey him. They heard Melisandre call him Azor Ahai, and they don't know what to do with that. He's not a hero to them. He's something else now. And the worst part, Cersei is still alive. That's right. Down in King's Landing, she hears the Night King is gone, and instead of relief, she laughs. Because now, all the dragons are gone, most of the armies are dead, and Jon is weakened. His people are exhausted, his allies have scattered. She sees this as her perfect moment to strike. She sends ravens to the Iron Bank, rallies the Golden Company, sends Euron to start raiding the Reach. She's not scared of Jon. She's betting he's too noble, too tired, too broken to come after her. But what she doesn't know is that Jon's not the same man anymore. When he returns to the Great Hall of Winterfell covered in blood, holding a sword that still smokes, he says nothing. Not to Sansa, not to Arya, not even to Bran. He just says, "We're not done." Sansa tries to stop him. Arya warns him that the South will eat him alive. But Jon's already made up his mind. He's going to King's Landing, not for the Iron Throne, not for revenge, but because he made a promise to Daenerys, to build a better world, and he's going to burn down everything that stands in the way. But what happens when you fight fire with fire? All right, this is it, the final stretch. The fires of Meereen are long gone, the White Walkers are nothing but snow dust, and the North is scorched and tired. Jon Snow, the reluctant hero, the living weapon forged by fire and loss, is headed south. And this time, he's not coming as a Stark. He's coming as Targaryen, the name he never wanted, the name he ran from. Now he wears it like armor. Word spreads fast across Westeros. The Night King is dead. Jon Snow killed him. Bran Stark rides a dragon. The North is united, and they're marching south. No king's crown, no speeches, just movement, soldiers, purpose. Cersei hears it, and at first, she doesn't believe it. She's still sipping wine on that crooked little throne, wearing black, thinking everyone's too broken to stop her. Her spies say Jon has no dragons left, that he lost too many men, that he's marching on empty, but she doesn't get it. This isn't a political move. This is justice. This is rage, wrapped in silence. Now Tyrion, he's already back in Westeros. He left Meereen behind when he realized it wasn't fixable anymore. The cult of Dany grew too fast. It became something he couldn't control. He watched what happened when you let belief outweigh strategy, and it scared him. So now he's trying to be useful the only way he knows how: words. He rides to meet Jon before he gets to King's Landing. He begs him, please, don't burn it all down. Jon just stares at him, and for the first time, Tyrion sees it. The same fire he once saw in Daenerys, but colder, like ice trying to control the heat. Jon tells him, I won't become what she was accused of, but I'll finish what she started. Now, let's talk about Bran. The kid is different now. Warging Drogon for that long changed him. He's not just the three-eyed raven, he's something older. He knows things no one else should. He talks less, blinks slower. People around him start whispering. Some call him the true last Targaryen weapon. But Bran, he's focused on something bigger. He's seen a vision, a future where the cycle never ends. Tyrants replaced by tyrants. Thrones taken, then lost, then taken again. Fire, blood, repeat. And he realizes the Iron Throne isn't just a chair, it's a curse. So while Jon marches to take down Cersei, Bran has a different plan. End the throne. End the cycle. Now we get to the siege. Jon's forces reach King's Landing. What's left of the Vale's armies? The Riverlands, the North, Arya, Gendry, Davos, even Brienne barely healed, and from above, Drogon flying under Bran's control. Cersei digs in. She lines the walls with scorpions again. The Golden Company is ready. Euron's fleet in the bay, but it's not enough, because this time there's no mercy. Drogon doesn't burn innocents. He burns weapons, ships, towers, precision, discipline. Jon is not Dany. He's not emotional. He doesn't scream. He doesn't hesitate. He executes. Arya sneaks into the Red Keep again, not to kill Cersei, but to open the gates. Grey Worm. He's not here. He went east after Dany died, couldn't handle the grief. So now it's just Jon and his people. They enter the city. Cersei stands alone, and Jon walks into the throne room, sword drawn, silence so heavy it feels like a scream. Cersei says, "You don't have to kill me." Jon looks her dead in the eyes and says, "No, but I will." And just like that, he ends the last Lannister monarch. No speeches, no trial, no games. The war is over, but now comes the hardest part. What next? Everyone turns to Jon. Lords, soldiers, citizens. They expect him to sit on the throne, to declare himself king, to take what's his by blood. But Jon doesn't sit. He melts the Iron Throne, not with Drogon, with his own sword, Lightbringer, still glowing. He drives it into the throne's base and the whole thing collapses. Symbolic? Yeah, but necessary. He looks out at the people and says, "No more kings." Bran steps forward, says nothing, just nods. Because this is the future he saw. A world not ruled by bloodlines or dragons, but by councils, alliances, understanding. Is it ideal? Hell no. Is it realistic? Probably not, but it's better than what came before. Tyrion helps build the first Great Council. One representative from every region. Equal voice, no crown, just unity. Sansa rules the North, but as a protector, not a queen. Bran becomes the new archivist of the realm. A memory keeper, not a ruler. Arya? She sails west, like she always wanted. And Jon disappears. No throne, no castle, no title. Some say he went beyond the wall. Others say he returned to Valyria to watch over Drogon. Some believe he died alone in the snow. But the truth, Jon Snow, became the last dragon, not a beast, not a king, but the final fire that burned away the chains of the old world. And that's the end.